It don't stop. Bands running up, he got enough to pay the cops. My team don't stop, got the game on lock. Baby girl, make it drop. Let me see what you about. Yeah, yeah. Come and throw it on the real
We can start from the top?
Yeah, fuck.
You got it.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll start from the top.
Yeah.
Starting from the top.
Awesome.
Here we go.
All right. Hey, everybody. My name is Brian Uribe.
And I'm Daniel Guiney. We're here with another episode of Konsole Consulting. With us today,
We have.
Harris Osterman from Talk Hiring.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah,
Harris.
thank you.
So, Harris, what is Talk Hiring and what do you do for Talk Hiring?
Yeah, so what Talk Hiring is it's a free automated mock interviewing tool. So what that means is people can practice, gain confidence on their job interviewing skills. We have over 100 different industry-specific or general interview questions. It's all over the phone, really low tech. You can use a landline or a mobile phone. And after each mock interview, you get an email that has all your recordings so you can listen to yourself, think through how you could do better, as well as feedback on how you can improve. So right now we report on volume, tone, duration, pauses, filler words, and the STAR method, and we're always adding more to the automated reporting that we give. And then the really cool thing is we work with organizations that help people find jobs. So we have a companion product where the career coach can keep track of who in their class is using it, how they're using it, what questions they're doing. They can listen to the interviews, give their own feedback. Yeah, that's what Talk Hiring is.
that's super powerful. So you're evaluating, was it 7 different categories? Or 8?
It's 6 right now.
6 categories of speech through, you said you could do it through a landline.
Right.
Which is really cool. I want to touch on that a little more because
Sure.
everything coming out now is just all this like advanced tech. So this is cool that it ties into anybody could use it.
Low tech.
Low tech.
Right, low tech.
Right? And it's such an interesting topic because interviews nowadays are a really pivotal point. You know, I know we're moving into like the automation world and all that, but you can't take out the human aspect of things.
Right.
And people do look for that. So having a service that can enhance that for individuals that maybe otherwise be challenged to do a front-facing interview, really powerful.
Yeah, and I think that the biggest thing with what you're doing and just knowing what Talk Hiring does is removing the friction from this whole written application process that people, I know we've spoken about this before, that people may not just be good at, right? You may not be good literally, like you may not be able to write well, but you can communicate yourself extremely well. So it's definitely a very powerful tool, and it's I always like technology that kind of starts to even the playing field for everybody, right?
Yeah, no, that's the goal. Ultimately, we want to build this voice-based hiring platform so people can talk about themselves instead of writing about themselves. And the mock interviewing tool is the first product in that ultimate journey.
That's very, 99% of people like to talk about themselves, right? Like, that's a thing in general. And it comes more easily than writing about yourself.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've had to write blog blurbs about yourself for doing a seminar or something.
Yeah.
It's challenging. I personally have somebody else write it for me, and I give them the information because I hate doing it. I don't like writing a little paragraph about myself.
It's super, I feel like it's kind of invasive.
Yeah.
It's strange because it's about you. Like even writing about your own company. Like, I don't want to sell you on it, dude. I think I'm awesome and I think the company is awesome. I'll tell you about it. But having to write it and put it down, it's there's different level of immortalization, right? Like you are immortalizing your narcissistic thoughts about yourself. And it makes a lot of us very uncomfortable. So I think that's super powerful. So why Talk Hiring? Like why did you start it? Why does it exist?
So I got into it. So for a long time, I've known that I wanted to start a company, and I built a lot of failed companies. But why I started working on Talk Hiring specifically is I was an engineer at a few different startups in New York City, and I started becoming uncomfortable about the impact that my work and just automation and AI was having on the workforce. And I started volunteering on the side just to understand how do people get jobs when they're laid off or when they become underemployed or whatever happens. And I worked with this awesome program called the HOPE program. It's a nonprofit in Brooklyn and in the Bronx. And they're a workforce development program, so they help people train, gain confidence. There are a lot of emotional challenges when you're unemployed, and then help them get jobs. And
just one time for the audience, if you want to
workforce development.
Workforce development.
Yeah, it's an umbrella term for organizations that help people improve their job skills and then help them get jobs.
Hell yeah.
So like job readiness programs, it can be a coding program, it can be a restaurant training program, it can be general program, it can be targeted at certain demographics or certain employment backgrounds, things like that.
And
Very cool.
I'd like to at least touch on, like, what's the impact of people not having a tool like this, right?
Yeah, so, I mean, for the mock interviewing tool, the impact is huge because there's so many people who have interviews coming up. They probably don't have someone to practice with who's also a really good interviewer.
Fact.
And if you're not I was actually listening to a podcast yesterday that was saying that the only way to get better at something is to rehearse whatever that thing is that you're trying to get better at.
Yeah.
Whether it's, like, if you're trying to get better at the SAT, you want to take more like simulations of the
Bunch of
SAT.
SATs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
whatever. So
absolutely.
if you want to improve your interviewing skills, you want to do an interview with someone that you don't know, not like your mom or something.
Right.
And who's not going to be nice to you, and practice it whenever you want in a easy, simple way.
I mean, 10,000 hours, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
And then the voice-based job application, that would be super powerful because there's so many people, even in just New York City, that are going to these programs, getting help on their resumes, their cover letters, their job applications, and it's amazing how much time is spent and how many people could be helped if there was an easier way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's something so interesting, especially when you consider something that we've spoken about in the past is underemployment, right? And a lot of these,
Yeah.
a lot of the infrastructure that exists right now for people to get jobs isn't very conducive to some of the people that actually may be great candidates, and it leads to underemployment where you're a
Right.
scientist and you're working at Starbucks. Like, I don't really know if caramel macchiato takes that much,
Yeah.
right?
Like,
Like,
could be their solution. Like,
yeah, you're not solving some of the most pressing issues, and I think it's super interesting. We'd definitely love to dive in more on how it works, and so what's the experience like for somebody that wanted to use Talk Hiring, right? Like, what
Yeah.
would that look like if I go to your website and I say I want to use your platform?
So you go to the talkhiring.com website.
Okay.
Then at the bottom you click Let's Interview. You text your name, email, choose a question bank set over text message.
Okay.
We also support doing it via the web because if people have a landline, they obviously can't text message that way.
Yeah.
And a lot of our population doesn't have consistent phone access.
Sure.
So yeah, you can either do it text message or through the web to start your interview. You can start it right now by calling in, or you can schedule it for later. We have a simple Calendly integration where you pick any time that you're available,
Okay.
and then at that time you'll get a call that will start your interview.
And it's all automated.
Right,
These
it's
aren't
all
real
automated.
people.
No, so we work with
Are they
professional
robots?
voice actors. No, so it's recorded people. So
Hello, welcome
yeah.
to your interview. No, okay.
Yeah, no, I played around, like, would robot voice or just speech or text-to-speech voices sound good enough?
Okay.
But they just really don't. And
There's
and
that
it's
human like warmth to it.
right,
Even Siri sounds kind of weird.
right.
And she's gotten a lot better, so I love Siri. Siri, I love you. Where are you? I think she's great, but yeah, no, it's I think for the kind of environment you're trying to create,
Right.
that's way more powerful.
Yeah, and so each interview is 5 questions. You can do the same questions, different questions, totally up to you.
Okay.
And I should say it's up to 5 questions. Like, if you hang up after question 2, we'll detect that and still send you all your
Feedback and knowledge.
feedback and all your recordings.
Nice.
Very cool.
But yeah, so it's up to 5 questions. Usually takes about 10 minutes, depending on how long you want to talk for. We're not going to cut you off. And yeah,
The robot just lays down the line.
Yeah.
no, because they're not mock interviewing, but real automated interviewing on the employer side, and they will cut you off after a certain amount of time.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Which it's so stressful if you know you can only talk for, let's say, 2 minutes. It's tight. So yeah, that's how it works.
Now I wonder. This is a crazy question. It may not apply, but tell me if it does. Does it also work in inverse? Like, can you help people train on how to interview people with the software? Or is it only how to be interviewed?
Yeah, so I have thought about that. It is only how to be interviewed.
Okay.
But an employer that I was talking to thought that it would be really cool if you could use something similar to evaluate the other way, and then you could detect if your interviewers are actually good, if they're using a consistent process, things like that.
I get that. Yeah. When you interview someone, that shit's hard, man. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
You're trying to quantify, like, is this you're giving someone a position, or you're not giving someone a position that has a dramatic impact on their life. But if you give it to the wrong person, that shit's gonna have a dramatic impact on your life when they come in and they drop the ball.
Absolutely. Yeah, dude, I think that's so powerful, right? And it is, again, it's still like, I don't feel like we as humans were engineered to go through those kinds of scenarios and situations, right?
No.
It's like we're fight or flight, right? Like, it's not interview. It's not fight, flight, or interview.
Yeah, right. Yeah, fight, flight, or interview. that could be the name of a podcast or some shit.
Right? Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
But no, the good thing is that because it's over the phone, a lot of people are more comfortable with that kind of a medium.
Absolutely.
They're not. If it was a video app, you would be staring at yourself, which is a lot more uncomfortable. And you also wouldn't feel as human, because you would probably be staring at like an avatar talking to you or something weird. Maybe recorded human, but the phone aspect makes it a lot more real.
Okay.
Yeah.
And before we dive into more of the intricacies of like the actual business and your expansion models and all that kind of stuff, I'd really like to take a moment and focus on the why.
Okay.
Right. I know you touched upon a little bit your experience with Hope and how that kind of germinated it. But if you could expand a little more on how this seed really came to sprout. Like, what do you have any specific instances you might think of that you were like, wow, there is a need for this?
So I was thinking about it as I started working with the Hope program.
Okay.
And then me being a lean startup guy, I just put up a splash page and wanted to see, would people be interested in calling in and making that their job application?
Okay.
So last April or maybe March, I put up a splash page, put $10 of Google AdWords behind it a day.
Yep.
And I was getting like, I got so many, I think I got like 41 calls in a 10-day period.
Oh my God. Let's go.
Yeah. So, and people kept talking about why they were interested in a product like this. Obviously, I didn't have any jobs at that point, so I would help them usually with their resume.
Okay.
But yeah, a lot of people were commiserating with how they really wanted to use something like this. So that, plus all of my
serious nerve with that splash page.
It was pretty fun.
you want to tell everybody what a splash page is?
Splash page is just a single page website where for me it was testing an idea, but it can be not testing an idea, like when you actually have a business up and running, but it's just supposed to be very simple. People go to it and there's a clear call to action.
Outstanding. Very cool. All right. And
a really fun story from that is, because I was working full-time at that point, I was using the service called Grasshopper, so I had a 1-800 number people would call in. But during the day, I couldn't take phone calls, so I had it routing to my mom's cell phone, and she would pick them up.
Let's go!
And she really didn't like it.
This is Mom Oscar.
Yeah, so I shut it off after 10 days, but it was great.
Very cool. So you hit a hot nerve, and I would agree. Even just anecdotally, interviewing is something that people need help with.
Yeah. And yeah, the reason why I really got excited about this is when I had never really done workforce development stuff up until last February, but it feels amazing when you help help someone get a job.
Agreed.
Like, I would help someone with their resume or help them with their interview skills, and then the next week they would tell me that they got that job, or that they had an interview for that job, or whatever it was. And it's
dramatically change
awesome.
The course of their life.
It's great.
Feedback.
I mean, it's obviously not just me, but the feeling that you get and just realizing that this is a really important thing to work on is great.
And you said it's a free service, right?
Right. Yeah, the mock interviewing tool, it's a free tool. We work with organizations that help people get jobs, these workforce development programs.
Okay.
And the nice thing is their goal and our goal are the same.
Right.
And a lot of them have kind of complicated purchasing processes that I would rather avoid. So
We've spoken about them.
yeah. So it's a free product so that they get all the benefits of it, and we're aligned in ultimately helping people get jobs.
Would you say that you guys find synergy by working together?
Yeah.
Yes, let's go.
God.
You guys.
Oh, he says that word every one, dude.
It's coming.
Every
You know it's coming.
podcast, man.
You know it's coming.
No, man.
But that's the mission, right? You're trying to find synergy and build out something where you and these other organizations there can really come together and provide more value than you could individually for the end consumer.
Guys, this is an ad for Konsole Consulting. If you need to find a place in your mission to use the word synergy,
Call me
Dan's
up.
your guy.
I will write this to you. Let's go. Hell yeah. All day, man. All day. It's all about synergy.
Kid loves it.
That's what the whole name of the game is.
Yeah, I think we spoke about that when we spoke last time.
About synergy? I mean,
About the word synergy and how I feel about it.
I just feel like it's consulting-y, and usually it results in some downsizing or something.
No, you gotta look at the positive side of synergy.
Okay, there are positives.
Not the consultant comes in and say, we're gonna
You're gonna find synergy between these two departments and eliminate 500 people.
Workforce.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. So, dude, you know I'm a fan of talk hiring and what you guys do. I think it's really powerful, really important, and I think that it's a massive problem that not too many people are focusing on. So, definitely want to dive in more on like what are some of the business challenges you're facing? What are some of the nuances within your business that you kind of have to deal with? Especially, how big is your team?
Very small. It's me, part-time engineer who's also going to school for coding. He's in Lambda school. And an intern for the summer.
We like Lambda.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So you're a 3-person team, so it's all engineers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do all the non-engineering stuff plus a lot of engineering, and they only do engineering.
But you're an engineer by trade.
Right.
So it's 3 engineers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not to devalue engineers as business people, right?
No, yeah.
Engineers look at problems in ways that the rest of society does not. It's engineers
For sure.
and computer scientists.
Yeah.
It's a totally different way, the way you guys look at those problems. So what are some of the business challenges you're facing as you look to scale, as you look to make this into a viable business that's generating revenue, right? It's a viable business now, but for all intents and purposes, no offense, it's a nonprofit. 'Cause
Right,
you're not
we don't
making
make
any money. Right.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the things that you're looking at on your roadmap to get to profitability, and just some of the standard challenges you're facing?
Or do you
today?
intend to take it to profitability, or is it going to be a
100%,
nonprofit-based
yeah.
organization? And in my other career path, I specialize in the nonprofit space. Let me tell you, there's a lot of money in nonprofits. These aren't organizations that don't turn money. They're
Right.
bringing millions through the door annually, and executive directors are making significant salaries to manage these large organizations. Maybe not
Right.
comparable to,
Right, to the
a corporate
public, yeah.
or enterprise company of the same size. But with that said, please expand on that.
So yeah, on the nonprofit versus for-profit, I mean I had always assumed that I would build it into a for-profit so
Okay.
that because if I'm helping people get jobs, I can charge employers, bring in revenue that way.
Sure.
But yeah, right now the mock interviewing tool makes $0. We have made less than $1,000 on a previous product that we built, which was automated interviewing for employers. So we have some free employers and some paid employers on that product. But business challenge-wise, there are a bunch. I mean, one we could talk about is how to get. So we're running all these pilot programs with career development organizations.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are really great organizations, but it's hard to get the whole organization on board to use the product, just like in any organization.
Absolutely.
So figuring out, initially I'm talking to one person, then that one person has to talk to their whole team, then that whole team maybe needs to bring another team on to start using it, and just the product is one of the simplest tech things I've seen on the internet, but still there's stuff that people have to know. And figuring out how to share that knowledge and get everyone on board has been tough.
Okay, could you walk us through a little bit about, and we always preface any of these questions with, don't give away the secret sauce.
Yeah.
Right? So if there's anything you can't touch upon, it's proprietary,
it's
please feel free to shut us down, otherwise we will keep asking questions.
We'll dive really deep. All your IP will be on the internet.
Sure.
Not really.
No, but so if you could just touch upon a little bit of how do you approach that problem now, right? What does that look like? So say you're talking to someone at a company, how does that look?
You mean from like how I do the first initial conversation?
Yeah, even before it's a sales pitch, like how do you position the organization?
So
Again, if this is secret sauce,
yeah,
you
it's,
get it. So
it's not really. I mean, the other side, the workforce development organization, it's very clear for them to understand what we offer, a free mock interviewing tool. So they'll talk to us about it, try to understand more about how it works, what it does, how it could fit into their organization. And then they usually have to talk to whatever other team members they have. We have them sign an MOU, and then move on with a pilot program.
and for those in the audience that don't know what MOU
A
is,
memorandum of understanding. Basically, it's a one-page document so that they know what we're going to offer and we know what they're going to offer. And it's just set terms on how long we're going to test this out for, what's expected from both sides.
awesome.
Yeah.
Outstanding. And now, so all of these conversations are coming from
Like how am I
where?
meeting these organizations?
Yeah, it's just like
It's pretty easy.
somebody you run into
So
and call on them?
there's one of the best ways is job fairs. There are
Okay.
job fairs all the time,
Okay,
all
that's
over.
cool, yeah.
Preferably not New York City, like Manhattan job fairs, just because they're way too crowded.
Yeah.
And if you're not a candidate, like they have way too many people to talk to. But going to job fairs in New Jersey and the other boroughs, Westchester. So that's one avenue.
Are these college job fairs or?
It
generally
varies.
job fairs?
It can be counties put on job fairs. It can be colleges. It can be like U.S. representatives put on job fairs. Really, some colleges do, but usually it's for the students, so I don't go to those.
Now, just off of that, have you given any thought to bringing this on to a college as part of their orientation program?
So,
Or their
yeah.
exit
Or
strategy.
their exit program, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, or their exit program.
Yeah,
Probably more
colleges could be
applicable.
great. I really haven't put that much effort into it.
Okay.
Because
Somebody in this room's on an alumni board, so
Yeah, you might want to talk to that
that
guy.
is true.
figure that out. you know?
But no, the reason why is because initially I was more focused on programs that were workforce development cohort-based programs.
Okay.
Where I would know that it's an X week program, there are this many participants, they can introduce into the curriculum. If it's a college that has a career coaching team, there's usually not a program, it's just people ad hoc drop in.
Yeah.
And it's hard to really test if something works with that.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's a great expansion opportunity.
And coming.
Sorry.
Oh, please. Yeah.
Mhm.
You said it's hard to test how that works.
Mhm.
Like,
What does that mean?
elaborate? Yeah.
Yeah,
Help me
because
understand.
as part of the pilot, we want to know, we know that the product technically works, but we want to know, does the organization like it, and do the job seekers like it? And so we'll set up, what does a successful pilot mean? What kind of usage do you want to see? What type of interview improvement do you want to see? And if it's just ad hoc, people dropping by, it's hard to set any.
So my question for you is: are you setting is the expectation for the college to define success, or are you defining success?
So it
Or
is.
do you guide them to?
I
what
usually
success
guide
looks
them.
like?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
They don't know what they want.
It's a group,
yeah.
right? Exactly. They don't usually know what they want. I mean, ultimately, what they want is more people getting jobs.
Sure, yeah.
But the problem with that is there's so many factors that go into are you getting a job that
Yeah.
I can't really measure that well. I mean, we can measure that, but I can't really evaluate if talk hiring is or is not helping people get jobs.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a guiding process.
So, it sounds so. What are the other variables, right? So resume is one.
Oh, for getting a job? Yeah, resume. There's just what skills do you have? Like, are you actually a good possible employee? Are you just personality-wise? Like, are you motivated? Are you applying to enough jobs? Are you applying the right way? Are you networking? I don't know. Are you rational about what kinds of jobs you're applying for? Or are you just reaching too much?
I guess also the tenure once you get the position. Like, are people getting jobs that are appropriate for them?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you were talking about under-hire is like a huge issue.
Right.
But the major problem you touched on before was how do you get this integrated into an entity? Right? Like an organization. Once you get that conversation, you said that was one of the primary problems you touched upon.
Right.
Do you have an established workflow that you come in and drop the bomb on them with? Like, this is what this looks like.
No, I mean, we just, I know how to describe the product.
Okay.
And then they usually, the thing that they're most excited about, because they serve a lot of people, is they want to know, are people using it and how they're using it.
Yep.
So the fact that they get access to a dashboard to see how they're using it, how the students are using it, that's usually like a huge plus.
Okay.
And yeah, then we talk about how to run a pilot, like how our pilots work, because we don't want to run like a 12-month pilot, or ideally 2 to 3 months, but it depends on the program.
So if you're not charging money for a pilot, then why is it a pilot?
Because
you're not charging for the platform, so why is it a pilot?
Yeah, so the reason is because a lot of, for a small organization, they probably don't care that much if it's a pilot versus not a pilot, but for larger organizations, when they want to roll out a new initiative, I didn't even start by offering pilots. It was organizations wanted it to be some controlled
pilot program. Yeah.
Right. So I know that most organizations want to do it that way, so I'll do what they want that way.
Kind of crazy question on it. I know some people really like the analytics of it. Right?
Okay.
They really like the show me the data. But then there's the other side of the coin of people that are just big picture and just want to see it and then put it live. So do you have an infographic currently created that shows a workflow?
I don't have any infographics.
I would challenge you to create one and start just dropping that on people's heads and see how they receive it.
Yeah.
Because it's something they could easily forward. It visibly shows the process, and it helps simplify something that's a little bit hard to conceptualize if they don't have you there to break down the entire process.
So like a how it works infographic, basically?
Exactly, but not even the intricacies of it. Like, we're going to increase this by this. Just, show one person going through the process, even like a little avatar character or something, starting it, what they do, how the process works, and then like the end result, and show the transition of implementation to execution.
It could look like one of those like shoots and ladder ones where it just goes
exactly.
like this.
That's the word I was looking for. Yeah, shoots and ladder type of thing.
Yeah, I think that'd be interesting. All right, so now I'm going to challenge you a bunch.
Okay. No, and so one thing is we are actually producing an explainer video right now, which should help.
Yeah, definitely will help. Absolutely.
But yeah, what are you going to say?
Hell yeah.
When you finish that, send it to us so we can put a link in the bio of this.
Yeah.
It should be done early next week.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So some of the things I definitely want to dive in on, right? So from a sales perspective, it sounds like there's no point in getting somebody into your sales funnel if you're not making it easy for them to convert as a client. So like I could have 100,000 people that want to pay me money, and there's no point in them wanting to pay me money if I don't even know what I'm going to charge them or how I'm going to charge them. So that's my first challenge to you is set some expectations as to what cost looked like. I think what you're doing is really interesting, and we probably have to have this conversation offline. I think what you're doing is really interesting because I know the numbers behind it, right? We've spoken about this before, and the economics behind running talk hiring.
Right.
Understanding what could be charged and what they would pay for is first, right? Because you want to run a pilot would be for 3 months, and okay, great, that's cool. All right, well, 3 months pass, and if it's a pilot, you truly have to deactivate their account, right? If we're keeping true to what a pilot is. If it's a pilot and it just rolls it over into a freemium and it's just free, then, well, I just never deactivate you, but I just have to now support you and you trying to make your students the best students they could possibly be, or your workforce the best. And we're not saying that that's what we want, but this for-profit organization is my understanding of it. That's the second thing. The third thing is, it's like a pilot will never work if you just say, hey, here's this microphone, go test it out and you tell me what you want to do. So for example, when we got the mic, you were like, yeah, all right, it's on Wave. All right, and then you switched it to MP3 and you was like, oh my God, the file's so much smaller. Yeah. I'm like, dude, an hour's like a gig. Like, you know, I got 2 terabytes on Dropbox. That's not a big issue, right? So it's like, so we kind of figured it out, and it was more like, well, if Dan would have, no offense, but if he would have just asked me, I would have been like, no, just leave it on Wave. Yeah. Right. And there's things that I do the same thing with him, where it might just be like a plugin or some app, and I don't know how to do it. And right. So it's like, yeah, not everybody's Brian, Dan, and Harris. Right? Especially within some of these nonprofit organizations where there's not a direct incentive to do so, because it's not.
Well, they have limited capital, right?
Well, there's also not
capital, but human capital, where to implement a new program, they have to stop doing something they're doing now, where they're probably already wearing 4, 5, 6 hats to implement this. And without a very guided pilot, I think it would be difficult. I'm not sure what you found, but I think it would be very difficult for them to implement this effectively without having a team member on staff or someone that understands the exact workflow of this is how you do it.
And even piggybacking on that, right, there's no incentive to do so. The only incentive is an emotional incentive that my class will now get more jobs.
Right, more interviewing.
The reality of it is, I think under the circumstances of a nonprofit, it'll be much more likely to get somebody to actually come out and say, hey, Harris, thank you for teaching me about this and holding this class for me. I got this job and I haven't had a job in 1.5 years, or I've been working at McDonald's and I'm now a garbage man, or whatever job it is that the person's going, right? So I think the problem you're solving, the benefit that it draws to the end user, because you have 3 sets of users, right? So your actual users getting the job, then the employer gets the candidate that they otherwise thought that would have been a shitty candidate, and then you also got like the actual nonprofit organization, and in that you also have multiple different clients or customers that you have to sell. So the way that the benefit that is brought by your product to your users, whether it's a customer, it's the employer, or it's the actual employee, it's interesting because if you're looking at the nonprofit, which is the middle layer, I'd call it, right? If I'm in class and I'm using Talk Hiring and Dan's the teacher today, damn, I don't want to learn this shit. That's what Dan's saying. I don't want to learn this shit. I'm not getting paid more for this. I already have my curriculum. I know what I'm doing. I've been doing it this way for 15, 20 years. Whereas if he used it, he may see an instant benefit 3 months later or a month later, but he can't measure that immediately. So I'm not coming up to Dan saying, hey, that Talk Hiring app is amazing, I got a job. It doesn't happen the next day. Right, now. Typically. So I think that, and I say that to say that what you're doing is complicated. It's simple. The idea is simple. There are so many layers to it that if you lack on one of them, the effectivity just drops. So some of the things I would say. And what I would kind of say, like, to them, right now, 100%. What I would say, like, kind of like to what Dan was alluding to, right? It's you got to hold their hands through it, bro. You've got to, like, this is exactly what's going to go on. Every week, I'm gonna follow up with you, and then once we hit the first month and you feel comfortable with it, I'll come back one more time and we'll do one more like presentation review of it. Let me do it with an actual class this time, and then it's a bi-weekly follow-up from there for the remaining 3 months. And what you'll find is all of your questions will come out in the first 2 weeks. The third week they'll tell you whether they like it or not. The fourth week you'll get more of a verdict, and they'll probably tell you, hey, I feel really comfortable with this, or I need a retraining, and that's your opportunity in your fourth week. And then everything past that, it's more like, hey, it's still working, haven't seen anything, and now you're actually getting user feedback. So I think you should be looking at it more from a transitional perspective of like the bulk of the resistance you'll get in your first 30 days. And then the next 30 days, you'll probably just get optimizations and recommendations, maybe a couple qualms. I don't think too many. And then your tail end 30 days, it's like, oh, this is fucking cool, man. This is great. The students like it. And then you'll start to see some success.
Right. Yeah, and the nice thing is for a lot of the career coaches, when the students really like it, then that just incentivizes them more to want to use it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we built that, or we're making that explainer video to make it easy for the teacher to know what to expect, what to tell the students.
Right.
But no, it's a hard problem.
And it's got to be automated, right? Because
Right.
as you scale this out, you can't feasibly be there to do this every time.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a free product. Like,
Or even
unless
looking
it's a
at-
premium
yeah.
like option later on.
Or looking at some of these workforce development organizations, they may have over 20 different instructors.
Yes, and
And they all work on different time schedules because
Yeah.
there's the people that work during the day and they can only come at night. There's the people that are night owls and they work in the night and they can only come in the day. So
It's
it's
hard.
definitely a little bit of a logistical.
and some programs are in New Jersey. Like I can't be going to New Jersey all the time.
And as you're going to scale
Yeah.
this nationwide, like,
Right, I can't be going.
you can't.
everywhere,
You're going to do like the 50 state tour. I don't know, man. That's bold.
Yay!
I see. Yeah.
Oh,
so
man.
let's take this to the next level
Okay.
and talk about the paid version of this, right?
Mhm.
Or the paid component. Because that's where this is going. Free is
Right.
nice, but it is part of your sales pipeline at the end of the day,
Right. Mhm.
right? Like
Right.
you're providing all of this outstanding value that they can't get anywhere else up front. And then what? So talk to me
Yeah,
again
so-
how that works.
So ultimately, what I don't want to ever. I want to keep building and improving on the mock interviewing tool.
Great. Yeah,
and
it's two
that
separate
won't
entities.
right exactly.
That just-
But that will feed into the voice-based hiring platform.
Yeah.
So how that would work is people would call in to a. You can imagine it like in the old days when none of us were alive, but you'd look at a newspaper and you'd see the classifieds and you'd call a phone number.
Okay.
And that would be how you applied.
Yeah.
So I want people to do something similar where they'll call in, do a relevant phone screen that's automated in the industry that they're looking for. At the end of the interview, then they'll be able to take that phone screen and use it to apply to different employers that are hiring on the product. And then using a similar model where I'm not sure if it's like how I'm going to charge employers, if it's going to be for a certain number of job postings or a certain amount of time, or do a placement fee. Probably start off with a placement fee,
Like an
just
Indeed
because
kind
that's
of model
similar.
where it's like free postings, but then you can like enhance
Yeah, or you
it.
can do the Indeed pay-per-click model. But there are a lot of options. Ultimately, I just first need to prove will an employer pay for voice-based job applications.
I think that's something that you could do right now, but I think you have a massive opportunity that's just being overlooked. And I think going with the placement-based compensation model positions you very uniquely because you have, I don't know how many interviews you have, but if you have, call it 100 or 1,000 or 100,000, however many interviews you have on your platform that are recorded and stored, say, hey guys, I have this talent pool of 2,000 people that answered these questions. Would you like to vet these?
Right.
And go through which ones you'd actually like to pursue. And our fee's free to check it out. This is a pilot, but I will charge you a placement fee for this person and just kind of establish that as a contract. I think that's a really interesting way to do it initially. So that's
Right,
like
exactly.
convert money tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think long term, what would be really badass is if you charge it as a subscription based model, where it's like, hey, Mr. Corporate Customer, you're gonna pay me $1,000 a month, and you're gonna get access to over 600,000 candidates through X amount of different workforce development organizations,
Right.
and you could tier it up. Right, you tier it up. Say, hey, you want to add your own questions, or you want to use the Talk Hiring standard questions?
Right.
Everybody's going to say, I want to add my own questions.
Right.
Okay, it's $1 a question.
Right.
But now you have 30 different positions, and you have your 5 to 10 or 20 different questions, and probably try to cap that too. But it's 10 questions. It's $1 every one.
Yeah, no, there are a lot of ways that I could take it.
And I wonder if you could take it to like the fucking stratosphere with using some like AI machine learning to start sorting through the responses and pairing them with the placed positions and see what kind of.
So I do have a little bit of a challenge, and I'd love to talk through it now if you guys
let's
are
talk
open
through
to
it.
it. I was thinking about that earlier when you were talking about the interviewing platform, and that's the challenge right now with. So there's two challenges that you face from an employer perspective. First off, it's somebody that's super busy and that they know that they have to hire people, but there's a fire on their desk right now.
Right.
They have to blow it out.
Mm-hmm.
So how could you, if you're going to automate this process for them, will you just go into the world, and this isn't a bad thing, but this is just something that came to mind, will your product inevitably be something that captures audio and translates it and transcribes it into a written piece of report on the person's interview, and they could just read through that?
Right. No, it would do that. And currently, sorry, I'll let you finish.
If that happens, if that happens, are we going to get back into the situation that we have right now with HR platforms when you're making an application? They're only looking for the buzzwords.
Right.
So that's kind of like a risk right there on what your conversion might be, and then you just become a volume player, and
but I don't want to do that.
You may negatively impact what the mission may be. I don't know this to be true.
Well,
right? But that's just one point. And then the other thing is what kind of infrastructure or environment do you set up for me, the hirer, to listen? Yeah. Because it's on my computer now. I just log in whenever I want, and guess what? I'm not logging in for 2 weeks, and I needed the guy yesterday.
Okay. Well, so the first question.
Sorry, dude.
I'll go.
Here comes the bus.
This is what I was thinking. You know?
Sure. Yeah.
The so part of the reason it's like, I don't know. I basically, as time has gone on, the job application process has gotten more crazy because people have to apply to more jobs to get an interview, and then they keep applying to more and more jobs, so we need more and more automation that's doing not a great job of filtering people.
Absolutely.
We may need to stop the automation.
Well, I would love to stop the, you could actually evaluate talent if not so many people were applying to your jobs.
100%.
So if people actually, if you imagine it like a dating app where you can only look at a certain number of profiles a day or only apply to a certain number of jobs a day, then if you're the candidate, you're only going to apply to the jobs that you think you have the best opportunity of getting. And that way you're not going to be able to apply to, on Indeed, I've easily applied to over 100 jobs in 10 minutes. That's not helping anyone. Right. And if you could actually select which jobs you're applying to, then the employer doesn't need to have as much automation and can actually evaluate the people better.
So,
but you can push back on that.
I think that's I think that's awesome, and I think that's great. I think the only challenge you open yourself up to is what happens when they say, "Well, Talk Hiring is only letting me do 10 a day." I'm going to go to Indeed and I'm going to splash bang 100.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure. They can.
And again, this is I'm not doing
them. You know what I mean? These might just be a higher class.
Yeah, so I'm not doing this to be a pest, but these are the actual business questions. If I was in your shoes, I'd be like, how do I build the moat sufficiently big enough around me where you go to Indeed? And I think the key behind what you're doing is effectivity of applicants.
Right.
If you could say we are 32% accurate on an applicant, and it takes an applicant on average 25 applications
to get a
versus
job.
the kid on Indeed right now just smashing that apply now button. And nothing against Indeed, right?
Yeah.
Dude, when I was many moons ago looking for a job, I remember going on, I wanted to be an executive assistant, right?
Okay.
So I went on fucking Craigslist, dude, and I applied to every executive assistant posting every day.
Have you ever posted a job on Craigslist?
You get
so many.
You need a new email address.
Oh no, dude. So I posted one for an administrative assistant.
Hell yeah.
And I said in it on the bottom, I said, I need you to write me. I need your greeting to be in Spanish because we need somebody that's bilingual. I'd love to hire you, Mr. 12 years of experience. You don't speak Spanish. So you won't be able to deal with our 60 to 70% customer base that only speak Spanish.
Right. And so
I got 80-something emails. I'm like, fucking, come on, man, really?
And none of them are in Spanish, I bet.
I got 10.
Yeah, who actually read the fucking...
That's like 12%, bro. That's...
Yeah, it's really bad.
It would have went down if you had more submissions, too. Right? It wasn't going to get better.
No, the stats on it, I wish I remembered them, but I think it's like 2% of people who apply to a job get an interview on Indeed or something like that.
Okay.
So
well,
the
again,
stats
it's,
are really bad.
it's the whole human resource management platforms that it's
Right.
just like, it has all the data behind it where you just have to hit a couple of really key words.
Right.
Mm.
And the thing
There's a
that's-
whole science behind
Yeah.
applying to a job where, like, if you say the specific words that you use are better for your specific kinds of industry, so the more you use those words on your
Yeah.
resume, but you
then
just can't
people
repeat the
have,
word,
like,
which is weird.
20 different resumes because each job that they're applying to, they think that they need to have different words in it. And it just takes so much time.
100%.
And you're still probably not going to get an interview anyway because the ATS is going to filter you out.
Yeah.
And as an engineer applying to startup jobs, when I was in college and then after my first job, most of the time I would send an email in and then it was a human on the other side. Probably because there aren't.
They don't have the
like
infrastructure.
startups don't have all
It's
this
not automated
infrastructure.
response, yeah.
But it's great being able to talk to a human,
real
and it's so
person,
sad
yeah.
how many people can't. Yeah.
So hit us with another challenge you may be facing. Is there anything else that's
Okay.
top of
Yeah.
mind?
Other challenge. So there are so many workforce development organizations.
Okay.
Like, truly unbelievable number. Every day I find out more in just New York City, and it's hard to know which ones I should work with. Like which ones
What
I
kind
should
of metrics are
approach.
coming out of those?
Yeah, like are they large enough for me to spend my time working with them? Are they going to be good communicators? Because in a pilot program, I need to be able to talk to them a lot. What kind of programs do they have? Do they have cohorts? Do they I don't know. There are lots of different questions that I could.
So my
ask
challenge for you
them.
there-
Yeah, it's tough.
Or question for you there would be, do you have, and the answer may be no, do you have any process in place right now for
Mhm.
them to find you and pre-qualify themselves as opposed to you trying to find them and pre-qualify them?
Definitely not.
Definitely not.
But it's a good question.
Right? It's something to think about,
Mhm.
right? Because you only have so many hours in the day, and you're
Not
already
many,
doing a bunch.
yeah.
It's only
Right.
3 of you guys, and it's actually only like
It's really just
1
me
and 3
doing
quarters.
One and a half, yeah.
It's 1 and 3/4 because you got one guy still in Lambda, the other kid's a fucking intern.
You can even have them do too much.
Yeah.
Intern's got to, do specific tasks, but
Yeah.
that would be something maybe to approach.
Mhm.
Just take a step back, pause for a minute. Something I have a lot of challenge doing, but Brian always encouraged me to do is stop working for a fucking second.
Hell yeah!
And just say, what's like the big domino I can knock down that's going to
Mhm.
trigger a chain reaction of them starting to reach out to me. So maybe that's
Or what's
creating a
sexy to
content-
them.
Yeah, right. We're creating some kind of content piece
Right.
that's appealing to them. Like, what are these people looking for online
Mhm.
to enhance their abilities? I don't have an answer to that question immediately
Yeah.
off the top of my head. But what's something you could give them as a free resource that would draw
Right.
them to your other powerful free resource?
Mhm.
Put them through like a pre-qualifier
Big
question.
Yeah, right.
And have them screen themselves,
Yeah.
right? Like make them sell themselves to you.
I've
Yeah.
never thought about that.
Yeah,
Really.
I think, yeah, dude. Like the biggest thing too is like, you run your own business, we run our own businesses.
Mm-hmm.
We have the liberty to go tell somebody to pound pavement. I
Right.
don't want to work with you.
And you should do that.
I had a-
Honestly, you
Right,
should.
yeah.
Like
I was talking to
lot
a
of people,
consulting
yeah.
client yesterday, and we were at a point where we were like, listen, if this guy complicates this, I'm going to tell him, listen,
Kick rocks, bro.
our resources are better spent on other tasks and
Uh-huh.
projects. And there's nothing against you. We think you're amazing. We just don't, you really don't even know what you want to do, guy.
Mhm.
And we could fix everything for you, but you don't even know what you need us to fix.
Right. A big
We're
thing
telling
Brian
you what
says-
the problem is, but what are we doing here, Mr. Man?
You got to be able to qualify success,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
When you're
what
going
does
into an
success look
organization
like?
like this, if they can't qualify for you what success is going to look like by utilizing your program,
Mhm.
you will never have a successful experience.
100%.
Because you're trying to hit a moving mark, and
Mhm.
it's impossible.
That's
and
like-
it's going to end up having a sour relation.
Yeah.
Whereas if there was it could even be the most basic thing in the world that's allowing them to pre-qualify for themselves what they want out of this
Mhm.
and sell themselves.
It
on
can even just be a set of questions that
Exactly.
I know that I ask in my intro call.
100%.
Exactly, and just
Yeah.
cut that out of the
Yeah,
whole
right.
process, and let them just be
or
done
like
automated.
once your call's done
Mhm.
and they want to move forward, now you need to qualify them truly.
Mhm.
Or even before you talk to them. Like honestly, bro, like
Yeah, even before.
you could talk to 100
Stick it in the
people
calendar.
that are
Yeah.
not qualified
Yeah.
and maybe get 10.
Mhm.
And out of those 10, only 3 of them are really like dialed in. That's really, really bad.
Yeah.
Like I used to do that. We used to have National Telemarketing Day at the first company I worked for.
Okay.
And I legit, we would make
National Telemarketing.
Yeah,
that's like the worst holiday I've ever heard.
Yeah, it was the first Wednesday of every month, man.
Oh, God.
And I'm competitive, you know this. I'm super competitive, so I'm like,
even an annual day. This is like
it was every month, dude. And I'd kick ass. And you know what would happen? They would buy us pizza, and you'd be in the office every day, or maybe once a quarter. I think it was every month though. I don't remember, but it was nuts. And yeah, so you'd hop on the phone, and the person that made the most calls would get a prize. The person that set up the most appointments would get another prize. The person that would set up most appointments with follow-up opportunities or new created opportunities by talking to somebody would get a prize. You'd legit be on the phone for 80. I remember one time I won.
Calls.
I made 82 calls in a day. I was like 22 years old. I didn't give a shit. I was just trying to get paid, right? But
You're almost probably tired.
What's up?
All that.
Yeah, it was nuts. Well, I had a Bluetooth headset, so like good. You freak it, but still, right? Like even if you look at that, it's like I would make 78 calls. I think the most effective I did on one of those days was like 8 appointments that were real opportunity-based appointments. It's not like, hey, I'm going to stop by and just see how things are going. Like, no, it's like, hey, what's up, man? I want to follow up on this proposal or create a new opportunity. Versus now, I don't talk to you unless if I know that this makes sense. And the first talk is really to understand if it does make sense, because we believe it makes sense, but now does it actually make sense? Are you sure it makes sense? Now let's set your expectations. One of the things I kind of wanted to say earlier while Dan was talking was, like, have you ever had? I know we all have probably had this. Have you had a situation where your partner was upset about something? And you didn't know why they were upset, and now you're trying to fix everything and do everything, and
like scattershot, like maybe.
And it's like, wait, what happened, dude? Like, did I forget our anniversary? Like, was something important? Like, what is it? And it might just be you didn't bring me dark chocolate.
And it was just that,
and it just like blew up out of proportion. Have you ever had something like? And it might not be dark chocolate, but have you ever had a situation like that?
Where I have to guess why someone doesn't like me anymore or something.
Whatever, yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Qualifying success.
Yeah, so, right, that was poor expectations were set. You're just going into it expecting things to work out because you're fucking Brian Uribe, right? Like, or Daniel Guiney or Harris, right? Yeah. Like, sometimes it's just that. So, that's what inevitably ends up happening with clients when you don't set the expectations.
Yeah. I mean,
and you get somebody on the pilot and now you're overworking to overcompensate when it just was never a good fit, or they just don't have an understanding of what you do.
Yeah, I would say so. One thing that I'm getting better at different qualifications, but one thing that's so hard to know is if they're going to be just good at business hygiene. Like, do they keep a good calendar?
Okay.
Do they call you when they say they're going to call you? Can they keep their phone charged to like communicate with you? Do they like to use email? Like, I don't know. There have been a surprising number of people where that has been a challenge. I have no idea how to.
Just ask them.
Yeah, dude, 1 to 7.
Yeah.
How good are you at your calendar? But if they put a 3, don't fucking call them.
Yeah, I should just ask them. Though. That's
100%. Listen, so for us to find, and I would do it in front of everyone. For us to find success in this pilot, are you willing to do this? Yes. How good are you at this?
Right.
Okay, great. All right, so can you commit to this? Because now you're making them commit to it. And
they're selling themselves on why I'm going to do this.
Yeah, and if it's like, I can't commit to that, all right, is there any, so in the event that something does occur, can I like piggyback this off on somebody else in this room? Right? And then it's like, well, yeah, you could talk to XYZ person because she's great. All right, cool. Yeah. Well, guess what? Every calendar invite has both of them on it now.
Right.
And if they all suck, then I don't really know if this is a good fit, guys. I need you guys to be truly focused in on this. And guess what, bro? It may be a fucking company that has 100,000 people in their workforce development program, and you may need to tell them that this isn't a good fit because it's only going to be bad for you. And guess what? If they have a bad one and they feel like it was bad and you were inadequate because you weren't holding their hand the entire way, and right, like we're all adults here.
Yeah, I'm scared of that.
Yeah, if that happens, guess what's going to happen? They're going to go ahead and tell everybody else that you suck.
Right.
Meanwhile, it was just them.
Right.
That happens so often.
So more important to qualify up front.
Gotta qualify up front.
Yeah.
It's a bad experience, right. They're not going to blame themselves.
And explicitly state
even
expectations.
Even though it's their fault, right? Yeah.
Explicitly state expectations. And the other thing that you said earlier, and I feel like it's been quite some time since we got from the question, it was frequently asked questions would also be really good for you.
Facts.
Oh, right.
FAQ.
Hey, here's a one-page FAQ or just a website. Hey, go check the website out. We got it there.
Yeah, for the teacher side.
For everybody.
Oh, for everyone.
So, like, again, I think the statement earlier was sometimes they may not know what you do. Have a clear expectation. Yeah. Hey, so there's an FAQ over here for you, and for teachers, there's an FAQ for you over here. And, students, you got one too? There's an FAQ for you guys too. And guess what? You don't like reading? I got a video for you. How's that sound?
Right. And here's an infographic for you visual folks. That you can't read and don't like to watch videos.
Yeah, honestly, for what you're doing in the kind of sales, and I wouldn't call it sales because it's not revenue generated.
But like partnerships.
It is going to be revenue generated. Pipeline,
for your type of environment, the key thing is you got to kind of walk these. You got to not to be insensitive to anybody, but you got to kind of idiot-proof it.
Yeah.
You got to make it so simple where it's like, hey.
It's got to be someone who could walk in and pick it up tomorrow.
Yeah.
Especially in these kind of nonprofit organizations, there's a lot of turnover.
Right.
Right? If it's reliant on one person being there, a change of the guard could corrupt the entire relationship. So it needs to be something that somebody could walk in and pick up. Now, just touching back on pre-qualifying people.
Yeah.
You said you're creating this video.
Right.
Very cool, right? That's outstanding. That's going to help them understand what to do. How are you going to get people to see the video, right? Because you don't want it just to be where you're already having this. I would challenge you to create some content pieces geared towards these organizations you're targeting, surrounding questions on, like, how are XYZ doing Y? Or how is X enhancing their ability to Z? Or how are job seekers finding jobs? Like, start hitting some of those question points and then give them the solution at the end. Say, best practices are utilizing our service, and this is why you should get involved. And then have them start reaching out to you after they check that.
Get some case studies and testimonials too, man.
Yeah, there's a lot, logos we could definitely start getting.
If you have one organization that saw a 25% effectivity increase without adding any additional work to their workforce. So hey, this is how XYZ nonprofit saw a 25% increase in hiring of their workforce development program without spending any money,
right?
And without having to hire any more people, and it was actually less work. That as a title, I mean, obviously has to be sexier than that, but that as a general premise, oh man, you can't.
Right. Well, so right now we're working on.
Click it.
Yeah.
I just want to know. What do they do?
Well, we are right now just started this week working on a study where we can measure if statistically significant improvement happened.
It can be small.
So
it doesn't need to be big.
It's pretty
free,
exciting.
right? So this is something that you can improve without spending any capital.
Right. Yeah.
Up front, and then you're going to get them in the pipeline. But no, that's awesome.
I forget, there was something else that I wanted to say, but I forget. Oh yeah, so the video, it's going to live on the homepage, talkhiring.com.
Yep.
But we also have, thanks to Brian's advice, a talkhiring.com/career coach page.
Hey.
And that it's going to have the video at the top. It's going to say what do I need to know? What should I tell students?
Giving this as a resource to career coaches.
Right.
All day,
and then a link right there so that they can see what their custom domain is, where their dashboards, because we have an authentication system, so now they can log in, see their dashboard. So yeah, that should help a lot.
Hell yeah! What? I'm gonna market the shit out of this for you. Hell yeah! Awesome.
That's awesome.
That's all you.
Hey, that's what we do, man. Content.
Nice ass.
So yeah, with that being said,
can I jump into a off-topic question?
Wait, before you go,
you got an on-topic question?
This is almost.
I mean, if you want to keep it on topic.
This is quick. The other thing I would say is, as you create all this content, add it to your webpage, continue to create these different kinds of experiences, you should be using that as a sales funnel, hardcore. You want to go look at this? Yeah, this looks good to you? Yeah, sign up. Okay.
Not do as much.
More text, sign up.
Get all the emails.
More text, sign up, and then take them through that automated workflow of qualifying the customer, right? It could be it could be a Typeform survey, it could be a SurveyMonkey survey, it could be a MailChimp survey, whatever you want to use. But just get them in there and start getting their data and let them talk themselves out of it. Would you like to do a pilot? It takes about 3 hours of onboarding, and it's about an hourly commitment every week for the first month. And then past that, it's an hourly commitment every other week, or 30-minute commitment every other week.
Yeah.
Can you commit to doing this, to seeing these kind of results?
Yeah, and that would work.
Or no?
Yeah.
Is yay or nay?
And if once I have the career coach page, the study out, it just, and it's free, it's like, it's pretty compelling. Yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
Right.
It's the best guarantee. It's free.
Yeah. They love that.
You should put money back guarantee. But it's free. I know.
I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
I like that.
So,
What were you gonna
question,
say?
my
Yeah.
off-topic question, just
Sure.
to pivot a little bit.
Mhm.
You said something really interesting at the beginning. You said you're an entrepreneur and you've had a couple of failed businesses.
Yeah.
Which I think is a powerful thing. I've had a couple of failed businesses too, you know?
Me too.
Like, when you're doing it, if you're serious about being an entrepreneur, like, get ready to fail, man. Like, don't think you're going to come out the gate swinging like Mark Zuckerberg and just hit a Facebook out the gates, right? That's not how this generally works. I mean, even I'm sure he had failed shit that maybe
He had an IM app that his dad killed. But
Yeah, get out of here, Mark Zuckerberg, robot. But, so, like, that's the shit I'm talking about, though. I would love to hear.
I don't feel that way, Mark. Don't throttle my Facebook ads account, man.
I'll eat that one, Mark. But,
Oh, man.
So what I would be interested to hear about is maybe just, and maybe you don't have anything immediately at the top of your head, but a couple of things you might have picked up or learned during some of those failed projects that you're now applying to a successful project, and like how that evolution looked.
Yeah, there are a lot. So the first company, I mean, it wasn't really a company, we never incorporated it, but it generated revenue. And it was, it was
this man right here.
It was a Lego Mindstorms after school activity. So we'd work with local elementary schools in New Jersey, hired some kids in my high school. We'd go around teaching kids basic engineering concepts through Legos.
Very cool.
And yeah, I learned so much about, there was so much logistical stuff, like we had to get people to the right places, make sure the Legos were there, make sure that the teachers knew all the lesson plans, learned about, I mean, there's a lot of challenging classes, 3rd to 5th graders, where they just wanted to build catapults and just like shoot stuff out.
That's sick though, man. I want to do that too, bro.
Yeah, it was fun, but tough to manage. And then in college, I built, actually this weekend, my co-founder's wedding for my second business, which is QualCab. And that was a taxi sharing and taxi booking service. In 2011, so Uber Pool did not exist at that point. And we partnered with a local taxi company, did a revenue share, booked like 550-ish rides, which I was pretty happy with.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And yeah, learned about, that was my first company, so I learned about like what incorporation means, what are shares, taxes, learned about what vesting means, learned about how to structure a partnership agreement, working with an entity. We launched it during finals week, because that's when a lot of people want to take cabs to go home. So
Bold move.
I go to the airport. Right. And so I was studying for all my tests and fixing bugs all the time.
Nice.
Which was a terrible decision. And then another company it's kind of like TurboTax for political campaign compliance.
I like that.
We called it Campaign Compass. And we worked with local government. Well, we built an MVP product. The city of Berkeley in California was going to pilot it, but we realized from looking at our competitors that the market was probably not large enough. It was going to take a super long time for us to get enough contracts for us to
That's hugely important that you were able to identify that, right? I mean, half of launching a business is identifying the landscape you're coming into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was definitely the youngest person at this California conference for I forget what it was, something, and elected officials, and it was just a vendor event. And so we wanted to get a table, but it was way too
County
expensive.
executives?
Yeah, something like that. And yeah, the tables were way too expensive, but I talked to all of the relevant competitors, and they were all like okay businesses, but no one was really doing that well. And they were just talking about, like, I knew how many employees they had. It wasn't that many. They were telling me about their sales process. Sure, they were maybe trying to scare me, but
you see the despair in their eyes.
Pretty, like, you're gonna have to just have a lot of dinners with government officials to get them into it.
Gov affairs.
Yeah, it's just so that we killed that off. So yeah,
cool,
those
man.
are some learnings.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
You got to fail early, fail often.
Yeah.
That's how you figure out what works.
Mm-hmm.
If you're, Gary Vee just put out a talk about this yesterday, and he's always talking about this shit. But
Oh, man.
you gotta be ready to fail if you want to be successful. People
Yeah,
are so
100%.
afraid to fail. They don't put out an MVP, minimal viable product. They don't put out their first podcast. They don't put out their first email blast. They don't put out their first anything. They just don't do it because they don't want it to fail. But you've got to fail.
When's that email blast coming out, Dan?
Yeah.
Scary ass. You see, we keep each other accountable too here at Konsole. I think that's 100% right, though, right? Like, when I started my first couple businesses, revenue generating, made profit. Some of them never made any like actual real profit, right? When you look at like the time value you contributed to it. But yeah, no, dude, I started to realize, I now know all the reasons why it didn't take off how I believed it could have taken off. And sometimes it's just not having the right expectations, right? We're still going back to expectations. It's setting the correct expectations and understanding which inputs are going to generate which outputs. I think knowing your business, and we've had deeper conversations than just this one, I think you have a phenomenal business model. I think you have a phenomenal business and opportunity.
Right.
I think that if you build this out and you really wanted to exit, you could exit for 9 figures.
Secure the
Easy.
bag
Yeah,
alert.
Yeah, I think you could probably get out for 9 figures. You just got to build it the right way.
Right.
And a lot of that is just business structure and making sure
Yeah.
that Indeed and Monster and all the other companies never watch this podcast. So we'll probably whitelist them. But no, I think it's phenomenal. I think the only other thing that is something that we always talk about too is knowing when to charge your customer. And I think that you're at that cusp.
Yeah.
And I think you could charge them right now. But I
On the
also
employer
understand that
side,
you do have to validate your product a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then the final thing, dude, is if you need it and it's going to help you accelerate, go get some funding. What's interesting with you is that you have 3 engineers, so your biggest budget isn't really anything, right? Your biggest budget is you guys.
Right.
And you'll last for as long as you guys are willing to eat ramen noodles every night, right? You don't have a big marketing spend. You're not paying for branding,
We don't have any
and
marketing
advertising
spend,
or any of that stuff, right? So you could, in theory, truly build your product, build an entire marketplace with all of its users, because really your user base and your inventory is the people that are looking for jobs. And go tell all these like for-profit organizations with 1,000 openings, hey guys, you want to tap into 100,000 people? Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And then it's like, hey, here it is. And
You can even use the API and pull the job listings.
Yeah, but then I could do
You gotta
that
somehow
to
tweak
like
it for the
right, because they're not gonna then like
It's not gonna
I'll
pair
have to
exactly.
email the employer and be like, I have all these people that want to apply to your job, but I know that you're not looking on my thing. But I could do something like that.
Hell yeah.
Some
Hell yeah.
companies, some
Kidding me?
some marketplaces have done that really well.
yeah.
Dude,
You have so many opportunities to just explode this, especially since you've already seen some form of success.
Right.
I just think you got to refine processes at this point, right?
Yeah.
If you're not going to go out and monetize, and you're really going to focus on refining what your MVP is in your current product, you need to refine like crazy and stop wasting your time on these companies that aren't really dedicating time to.
Right, exactly.
And listen, I would also even say for the ones that are being more difficult, just ask, is this a priority for you? I just want to reset expectations, because the kind of engagement I'm getting out of you right now isn't what we discussed. And it's
even
not
if
what's expected of a positive pilot, right?
But I can even if they say yes, like I can still shut down the pilot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If they say
You should
yes,
do it. Do one.
Yeah.
Shut one down.
Yeah.
Just cause you can.
I've been trying for one
Try
of
it,
them.
man. Just shut that shit down. Shut that down tomorrow. That's my challenge.
shut it down right now.
Just
On Monday.
after this, send an email. Be like, I don't think it's working. I don't think it's working out. Just do it just so you get
Or
out of
just
the way.
reach
You
out
gotta
to
shut one
them.
down
Like,
first.
I would also say, like, reach out to them and say, hey guys, listen, I just want to make sure, like, reset expectations. Is this still a priority? They say, yeah, it is, and then just be really candid with them. Like, okay, well, you say this is an expectation, but this, and this. So
Yeah.
we really need to reanalyze this entire thing and go back to the drawing
I'm
board.
trying to
'cause
waste
right
your
now-
time on mine.
Yeah, we're not finding success here. You're not in, like, we don't do this to lose.
Right.
You don't go into business to lose. You don't go into being an entrepreneur to lose. If you wanted to do that, you could just go get a job, and then you never have to lose, right?
Facts.
Or just go play, like, I don't know, go play intramurals with NBA players if you really want to lose, right?
Yeah.
Like, you go into this to win. We are creatures of nature that like positive feedback, right? So, that's what we got to drive towards. Like,
Yeah.
listen, this isn't
You'll
working,
never
guys.
see
Get
someone
out of here.
shape up faster than when you try and take some shit away from them that they have.
That's
Yeah.
right, yeah.
You say, if you don't shape this out, I'm taking this away, and they like it, or even they think they like it, they
Yeah.
don't even use it, they're going to shape up.
If they don't
Just
have it and
people
they haven't
accountable.
even tried it, they'll be like, no, wait, I want it.
Yeah.
I have 3 more weeks. I don't care. It's my company, dude.
No, that's exactly what happened when I tried to
Exactly.
cancel one of my pilots.
Yeah, so don't hesitate to do that shit. Pull
Yeah.
that trigger.
Yeah, do pound
stab.
pavement.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pound pavement.
I'm too
please.
nice.
Got to do it.
Yeah, no.
Got to
Do
do
you
it.
have like a contractual obligation to them?
I mean, we
it's
have a
free.
signed
It's free,
MOU,
right?
but yeah,
Yeah, but
it's still they're not
delivering.
upholding their side.
Yeah,
So,
I would just turn it down and say, hey guys, I'd really like to work with you guys in the future, but
At this point in time.
the contract's void. You haven't met these expectations. I would like to revisit this with you at a later date when you can allocate more
Yeah.
resources to it.
It's
And
a
that's a
great
nice way of saying, hey, dude, go pound pavement. I wanted to say something else, but I'm not going to say
You
it.
get
Yeah,
a new
no.
catchphrase, bro.
Yeah?
Yeah. Something like,
Go, say something PG. I was going to go rated
no,
R.
no.
definitely not.
Yeah, kick rocks, dude, you know?
Yeah.
Whatever, but... So, I mean, with that being
Yeah,
said...
let's bring this full circle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have any other questions? Or
I love the idea. I can't wait to see what kind of success you're going to find.
Cool.
I think this is really going to take off, and I think we're going
Thank
to see
you.
a lot of people doing voice interviews in the next couple of years.
Absolutely. So yeah, let's bring it back around, right? So for the people out there, remind us, who are you, what do you do, and why should they care?
So yeah, we're Talk Hiring, building this voice-based hiring platform, and people should care because there's so many people who could get better jobs but aren't. There are so many employers who want to find candidates and say that finding great candidates is one of their biggest problems, but they can't find them. And there's so much waste in the process of people generating all these resumes, spending all this time applying to jobs, people helping people with their resumes, cover letters, the whole thing. And yeah, I think it's helping people get jobs is one of the most rewarding things I've ever done. So
Helping people
Yeah.
get better jobs for them.
right,
Oh, yeah.
helping them find a great job. And there are also a lot of, like, if you go to a job board, it's all just happy faces, people smiling, shaking hands, whatever. But there are a lot of emotional challenges when you don't have a job, because especially if you don't have a lot in savings, like, it's really, you're strapped
yeah.
right now. You're setting off this
Get
resume constantly. You have no idea if it's you or if it's the employer. You have lack of confidence. So there are a lot of, from when I was talking about the splash page that I made, there were a few people who, because they knew what phone number to call to then get to me, they kept calling me and just
Looking for
talking.
jobs.
Basically, I was basically like a psychologist. So they were telling me about their life challenges. I'm definitely not a psychologist, but they just wanted someone who could listen to them. And I think that voice helps you do that and make it more human, so I'm pretty excited.
Oh, dude, I've had that happen with Yofi. Every
Yeah.
time I send an email blast, I get somebody to email me back about how they're in debt, they want to get out.
Yeah.
It's when you're solving those kinds of massive problems that are real to people, that's what you'll get, and that's how you know that you're on the right path. So I mean, with that being said, it was an
This
absolute
is
pleasure,
great.
man. Yeah,
Phenomenal. Thanks for coming
Yeah,
on.
thank you.
So
Really
Brian
appreciate
here
it.
with Console,
And Dan Guiney here with Console. That's a wrap.
signing
Yeah.
off.
Thank you.
Signing off.
Oh yeah. All right. Awesome. We got an hour and 13 minutes.
Wow. That was long, but kind of flew by.
No, that was great, man. Thank you.
Wow, that was fun.
Really good. You got a cool product.
Interview ever.
Girl, make it drop, let me see what you about. Yeah, cause I'm in it to win it, stacking my digits. Headshots for critics, I'm here for my millions. Fuck them all, let the haters die. I'm the realest motherfucker, no blood in my eye. Just sun in my eye, I've been up on the grind, we ain't on the same time. I grew up with no bands, just a hope and a dream. Now we shining, we clean, stacking deals, never repeat. Fuck them all, motherfuck them all. If a hater wanna hate, will my hands still work? If they feeling like they tough, will my gun still squirt? If they wanna call my bluff, call the morgue up first. It don't stop, bands running up, he got enough to pay the cows. My team don't stop.